What's up, everybody? This is Peter Exodus O'Coffer here today doing classic songs. I'm going to do one of these songs, these classic rock songs I call epic songs. It has a lot of dramatic flair to it and what's the word I'm looking, classical aspects to it. So today the song is Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. It is the most streamed song in the history of YouTube. Just checked the billionaire stream list for Spotify, and I think Spotify has a little over 100 songs now with 1 billion streams. Bohemian Rhapsody's at 24, but Bohemian Rhapsody is just under 2 billion streams, like 1.9 billion, something or another, and what's significant it is the song. It's the highest rated song not of the streaming era. So that speaks to the power of the song. So Bohemian Rhapsody is actually 3 songs. You have an intro, you have a ballad, you have an opera, and then you have a rock song. What's really interesting is was done on a 24-track machine. If you've seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, you can see a little bit of how intricate it was to make the song. But interestingly enough, it only took them 3 weeks to make the song. Freddie Mercury had it well thought out, and so it went pretty smoothly. So yeah. So Freddie Mercury actually started this song in the late 60s. The interesting thing was it used 24 tracks, and they ended up, because of bouncing down tracks, they ended up doing almost 200 tracks. And the thing about it is when you bounce down, you lose a little quality. So what is bouncing down? I mean, back in the late 80s and early 90s, I had a 4-track Tascam Porta 05. And this was on the cassette. They had a thicker tape and stuff when they did Bohemian Rhapsody. But essentially, when you bounce down the tracks, I would record, put down drums and the bass and the main lead line. And then I would record tracks 1, 2, and 3 down to track 4. Then I would add vocals in track 1 and track 2 and 3. I'd probably do the chorus, and this is back in the 80s and 90s when the chorus was more prevalent and popular. But so when you bounce down, you lose a little quality each time. But the big thing that this is going back to Freddie Mercury's genius, is you have to have the levels right when you bounce down, because you can't change them. And when I say the levels, I'm actually talking about the volume of whatever the instruments are. So I mean, when you bounce down, your bass has to be where you want it in a mix, in relationship to the drums. It has to be right. You can't change it. And of course, there was a lot of intricate background vocals and choir and operatic vocals. So once you bounce that down, that was it. So it's pretty amazing. And I'm pretty sure the Queen did this themselves. So it's pretty amazing the quality that they got out of this. Being nowadays with digital audio workstations, you wouldn't have to bounce anything down. I mean, you could do 1,000 tracks if you wanted to. So it's pretty amazing again that almost 200 tracks, and it ended up as good as it did. Interesting enough, the record company hated it. I don't know if that's pretty standard. Like it was too much and it was too long. Radio wouldn't play it. Well, radio they did play it, and and the song became a classic. So Bohemian Rhapsody did hit number 9 in the U.S. and number 1 in the U.K. One of the legends, or kind of, I don't know, I don't know whether it's a myth, but supposedly the piano part that Freddie Mercury played was the same piano that Paul McCartney used for Hey Jude. So that's pretty cool if that's the case. Couple of other interesting things. 4 different keys are used in the song, all major, and I'm pretty sure, I don't have a accurate beats per minute app. I haven't been able to find one. If you know of one, put it in the comments. I'll be happy. I would love to have one. I know there's a lot on iPhone, but which one is an accurate one. But I'm saying that to say I'm pretty sure there's some pretty wild tempo changes in the song, just because, I mean, there's 4 different things going on. So, and usually in most songs, the tempo changes are gradual, or they're there, but they're not as noticeable, maybe 5 to 10 BPM. But I'm pretty sure there's some pretty wild beat per minute swings in the song. Well, if you're a huge Queen fan and a big fan of this song, go to Rick Beato. I've talked about Rick Beato before. He actually does about a 40-minute video on this song, and he has Brian May, the guitarist from Queen, chiming in, because he actually interviewed him. He did a whole, I don't know, probably known Beato, hour and a half with Brian May, just, because he was a huge Queen fan, and but he took the excerpts out, when they talked about Bohemian Rhapsody. So one of the interesting things that Brian May did say is they didn't punch in. I mean, you just played the part until you got it right. But I mean, Brian May's guitar playing on this song is amazing. And, Rick Beato breaks the song down into the drums. He must have, the individual tracks, or what we call stems, and so he can isolate instruments and play them for you. And Rick Beato plays everything, so sometimes he'll get on the guitar and play it, play along, or and he'll show you an actual, the notes and the chords on the piano. So if you're a huge, if you want to get that in depth, then definitely check out Rick Beato. So what do I love about Bohemian Rhapsody? I mean, the song is just huge. It's bigger than life, so to speak, almost a little bit like Freddie Mercury himself. And this is unforgettable. I remember, when I started getting into music in 78 and 79, I mean, the first time I heard, I was blown away. And it's just like, an amazing thing, again, it took 3 weeks to make. So, it's an epic song. It definitely belongs in the category of epic songs, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to know your music theory to get that to work and get that together. Love the song. Looking forward to doing more classic songs. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I got 4 albums on this channel and on all the streaming services, and I do have some science fiction, fantasy, 2 novels and novella on Amazon under the name Peter Exodus O'Coffer. So appreciate you for checking in, and see you next episode.